Good evening. It's San Dimas City Council meeting. Successor agent meeting will come to order. Pursuant to the February 15, 2022 order from the County of Los Angeles Department of Public Health, face masks must be worn by all persons regardless of vaccination status while in the council chambers. Please rise for the flag salute. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. City Attorney, would you like to make a report of action in closed session?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The City Council met tonight in closed session to discuss the one item on the agenda, which was a significant exposure to litigation item. In the closed session tonight, City Council voted unanimously 5-0 to release to the public an amended version of a memo that was provided to the City Council by the City Attorney in a separate closed session on October 12th of 2021. This is a memo that related to the CEQA analysis for the Municipal Code text amendment that the Council is that the Council initiated and is considering regarding the grading amendments in the SP11 zone. The amended version of the memo that the City Council voted to release to the public is available in the council chambers tonight for the public's review. That has been placed somewhere on the podium tonight for the public's review, and we also have it on the screen for those viewing at home when that item comes up on the consent calendar. So that was the action in closed session tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Oral communications. Members of the audience are invited to address the City Council on any item on this agenda or not on this agenda. Public comments will not be taken during each individual item except for public hearing items. Comments on public hearing items will be heard when that item is scheduled for discussion. Under the provisions of the Brown Act, the legislative body is prohibited from engaging in discussions on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. However, your concerns may be referred to a staff member or set for discussion at a later date. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Madam City Clerk.
Mayor, Council, the first speaker is Linda with Monte Vista Apartments.
Good evening. I'm a resident from the Monte Vista Apartments, senior apartments owned by the city, and it's managed like under the umbrella of what the Charter Oak Mobile Home Estates is. It's the same management, same concept. So anyway, I've lived there for 7 years, and wonderful place to live. However, for the past 5 years, the windows do not close, right? And about 5 years ago, the city sent somebody to come and fix the window, and the guy said, you know, these windows need to be replaced. If they call me again, I'm not going to fix them because they're non-fixable. So the windows don't close. I have photos of those, and therefore it gets really cold, and it gets really hot, and filthy, okay? The blinds, we've had to replace them 3 times because it rots the cords. In talking to Ann from City Hall, this matter has been addressed, and they've been working on getting estimates, but it's been 3.5 years, all right? The other factor here is with the horrid fires that we've had and everything like that, all the debris, everything that comes in, the smoke, the asthma, my asthma, and just the breathing problems that it causes. So what I'm trying to address here is how soon can we really get this thing done? Because 3.5 years of trying to get bids is, it's a little bit too extensive. And again, our health is in concern. The other thing too about this is that outside of the windows, there's trims. And I thought they were made out of wood. They're made out of metal. And one day I heard the metal fall, and it fell right on Monte Vista to the Ace Hardware. And I realized, oops, it's metal. This could have fallen on anybody. Thank God it didn't. But the ones on Bonita, you could see some of them are missing, which means they fell. Again, the windows definitely need to be replaced, and I would like for this to be taken into consideration and hopefully expedited a little bit faster, because 3.5 years, again, like I said, is a little bit too much. So with that said, stay COVID-free.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Catherine Booth.
I just want to thank all of you. I live in the Charter Oak estate for the extra patrol that you have with the Sheriff's Department, because we had a lot of thefts, a lot of unauthorized persons coming in, and you made it a safer place. The sheriffs come and they do a lot of patrols, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you also for the next day. I noticed that they fixed the fence, and I want to thank you. And also, I just wanted you to just keep in consideration for the wall, because when that goal line comes, you know, that all that noise will impact us. And I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for your improvement so rapidly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Evelyn, can't make out the last name.
My name is Evelyn Amstone. I live at Charter Oak, space 28. This is the third meeting that we have attended where we have requested to be on the agenda. This time, I sent an email directly to the mayor, figuring he's the head of the council, asking for consideration, put us on the agenda. We don't want to come and just talk to you folks. We want dialogue. And instead of the mayor responding to me, he passed me off to one of his staff members. And I don't appreciate that. That is very unprofessional, and it's very inconsiderate. When we send an email to one of you folks, we would like a response from that person, not somebody else. The other thing I want to talk about is the lack of accountability with our managers. There's still no accountability. They work a 6-hour workday. You never see them out in the park doing anything physically to fix the park. They sit in the office, they do nothing. The only thing I have seen in the last 2 weeks is Victor went out and watered the cactus garden, which has an underground irrigation system. So to stand out there and water cactus that are being irrigated underground is ridiculous. None of the work in the park that should be done on a daily basis, like sweeping out the dumpster bins, sweeping and spraying for bugs, fixing fences that are, wooden fences that are falling down, they're not being done. No work is being done by these managers other than sitting in the office and doing paperwork. Park rules are being changed without notification to the residents. Our park had a stipulation that when rules were changed in our park, residents were allowed to be in consideration of it, and we were allowed to vote on it. I went in today to not to rent the clubhouse, to borrow the clubhouse for a brunch for the ladies from my church, and I was told I had to pay a $100 deposit. We have never charged a deposit of our residents when they want to use the clubhouse that their rent pays for. Rent increases are being levied out to new buyers. Again, our park does not and hasn't for the last 10 years increased rents when a new buyer comes into that park. Our rents are raised once a year collectively, so the whole park is raised at the same time. These managers are just changing the rules, doing what they want. When they gave me the papers to fill out today to use the clubhouse, it says clubhouse application and agreement. It says, first and foremost, the use of the clubhouse is a privilege and not a right. As a resident who pays rent on that property, it is our right to use all of those facilities. And it also says, and your compliance with the rules and regulations of Montevilla Montclair. That's not the name of our park. They're taking rules and regulations from other parks and just slipping them into our park with no consideration to our residents. That's unacceptable. And the last thing is, I'm having the retaining wall behind my fence fixed. Behind my house fixed. And in the process, the workers have intruded on my mother's property, they've intruded on my neighbor's property, and they have broken my chain link fence that ran down the perimeter sides of my property. And I want the city council to be aware of it, and I expect it to be rectified before this project is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Matilda.
Good evening. I'm talking about Haven Management Services this evening. I was rather intrigued that when Mr. Davis was here, he commented that he has 20 parks, 7 of which are senior parks. And I did some due diligence since no one in the city thought it was necessary to do so. So their address is 1910 South Archibald Avenue, Suite C, Ontario, California. This is 1910 South Archibald Avenue, Suite S, Ontario, California. It is a vacant building. There is no one in there. You can see in this photo, Suite S. Since some of the websites said they were in Suite J or Suite M, we cruised the entire development. There is no Haven management there. This is their website, www.havenms.com. It is a dummy site. There is nothing on their website. You click on this and you get directories if you click any of the links. They are also connected to Haven Management. Haven Management LLC at 9201 Archibald Avenue in Rancho Cucamonga. Mr. Davis's email is tied to this company. Haven Management is in the Rancho Business Plaza. It specializes in community association management. It conducts financial management, assessment collection, project management, civil code compliance, property maintenance, and risk management. It says nothing about managing parks or communities. So you have hired a company that has no physical address and has no website, despite the fact that it purportedly provides services to 20 parks. If you do more investigation, I trust you'll find this is a sham organization. Second matter, you claim you're transparent as a city. You are about as transparent as a swamp. There is no information on your website regarding how to get an item onto the city council agenda. I personally took it in, and it was not on the agenda, and I took it in a timely manner, and I have a receipt that I delivered it. You need a website that explains how to get items on the agenda and a way to upload it, so we don't have to come here, get a receipt, and then still not have it on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Larson.
I also live at Charter Oak Mobile Home Estates. or I like to call it Charter Oak Trailer Park now. On February 9th, I called Ann Garcia about a theft that was taking place on my property, on my site, by a city employee. I got nothing from Ann Garcia. I called her at 8:46, left a 5-minute message, nothing. I called her again, 12:33, said, Ann Garcia, I left you a message, please call me back. As of tonight, nothing. I heard a diesel truck go by my house. I'm an ex-truck driver. So gradually I go out and look outside. It was the city people that you hire. Well, I saw one of the men come around the corner by because I live on the corner. He took something off my property. I caught him. I took it away from him. I reported it. I reported it to Ann Garcia, and I heard nothing. I'm asking you, does Ann Garcia even have a desk? She's never there. Just leave a message. I'm away from my desk or in a meeting. Is that all you guys do up there is have meetings? Because that's all Anna Garcia does in the meeting. And she doesn't call you back unless it's something minor, or not so minor, but she called Kathy back on the retaining wall, but she doesn't call back on the theft of a city employee. You guys got a hell of an employee with Ann Garcia, because she subsidizes and takes, I'll call back who I want, when I want, if I want. I just, there's not more I can say, especially about Anna Garcia, and I don't know why you keep her there.
Margie Green.
I'm sorry, what's?
Margie Green.
Good evening, City Council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here once again to tell you about the free guided walking tour that the Historical Society puts on the first Saturday of every month. That's coming up March 5th. So that's weekend after this on Saturday, 10 a.m. Meet at the Walker House. That's 121 North San Dimas Avenue. In the big house there, meet on the veranda. If you would, let us know that you're coming RSVP, just so we're kind of have a head count. The walking tour is given by Dave Harbin, and his number is area code 951-990-3395. Or you can call the Historical Society office and leave a message. We just want to head count a little bit, but if at the last minute you decide to come, I'm sure we can fit you in. Okay, also at 10 a.m., our Historical Society has guided tours, or all that you can walk through the Walker House and see our museum. We've got a gift shop. We'll answer all sorts of questions, or you can walk around town. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes of talking and walking. The walking is only about a half mile, maybe a little bit more than a half mile. But anyway, it's a great way to get to know your city and to get to know the history from somebody that's, I think, Dave Harbin is third generation of San Dimas, so he's got a lot of history he can tell. So anyway, we would love it if you would join us for the walking tour put on by the Historical Society. Start at the Walker House the first Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. on the veranda, and then enjoy the rest of the house. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, there are no more speaker cards.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wish to speak for the council?
Good evening, City Council, members of the audience. I have a little bit of somber news, unfortunately. Our neighborhood voices, which was to make land use and zoning a municipal issue as opposed to a state issue, has pulled out. However, they're going to revamp for 2024. We're going to build our war chest, as well as bring a lot more organizations and different social justice organizations in the fold to defeat Wall Street in my backyard, as well as the proposals from Senator Scott Wiener, as well as Tony Atkins. However, I do have a bit of exciting news. I mentioned last meeting, then I had the recall petitions for George Gascon. So if anyone is interested in signing those, I have them here. I had a lot of hits from that. I also have a petition for the kind of smash and grabs that were going on. So this repeals part of, I believe, Proposition 57. So basically authorizes felony sentences for certain thefts under $950. You've had people literally go into shopping stores and what have you and bring a calculator with them to make sure that they don't go over that amount. So if you want, you can sign the petition here. You can sign this one as well as the recall Gascon. That's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion unless a member of the city council requests separate discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 7 for separate discussion.
Okay, item 7, it's approve a budget amendment for appropriate $75,140 from the general fund. Okay,
And Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself from item 4 on the consent calendar because it deals with Pioneer Square due to a property that I own nearby.
okay,
But
all right.
I would go ahead and move approval of the consent calendar just with my recusal of that one item.
With the exception of item 7.
Indeed.
Okay. All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, before the vote, I will be abstaining from item number 4, but we'll vote in favor of all other items.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, item 4, will, Councilman Viana will be abstaining. Item 4, Councilman Ebner will be recusing himself. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll move on to item 7 of the consent calendar.
Perfect. Does
And that will be, we're going to put that up on top of, on the video?
Yes, so the memo, the amended memo that the city council voted in closed session tonight to release to the public is on the podium here, and it's also going to be placed on the display for anyone watching at home, as I understand.
Is there a way to get this where you're going to be able to bring it down, up and down, so that people can be able to read the entire thing and versus half of it?
So I guess, Chris, could you go through the staff presentation on this specific item, and then we can segue into the memo?
Doesn't look like Lewis is here, but I'll do a brief overview. The council on January 11th approved a contract with Ultra Systems Environmental to perform an initial study and mitigated negative declaration regarding a municipal code text amendment in specific plan area 11 to amend grading limits within planning area 1 and make various other cleanup text amendments. While the authorization was provided for that entering into that agreement and executing it, it wasn't very clear about the appropriation to fund that consultant agreement, which was to the tune of $75,140. And so on the last agenda, the council had a consent item to authorize the budget appropriation. It was pulled by the council for discussion prior to the meeting in closed session, as well as to put it back on consent calendar to approve the budget. And then the council has taken the action to release certain information from closed session regarding to this item. And this item is now back on the agenda to appropriate the $75,140.
Thank you. I think the only point, and I appreciate the council indulging me in a closed session, I think a lot of members of the community have expressed concern or interest in this particular item and the expense of monies to be able to proceed with the appropriation. So that being said, as the city attorney reported out earlier, the council met in closed session and elected to release this memo, which was presented to us in closed session, presented to you as amended. to be able to be as transparent as possible with you, the community, as it relates to the purpose or the reasoning behind the information that was available to council leading up to the appropriation decision tonight. So to that end, could you present or go through the memo for the public? And then if council, I think other members of council may have some comments, and then we can move forward.
If the council like, we could also read it, since it's not too long of an actual memo.
Sure.
Okay.
Is anyone opposed to that? Is that okay?
I'm not opposed.
So under the first section, background and assessment of risk. Background, the City Council directed staff to prepare a municipal code text amendment to increase allowable grading on any residential lot in the Special Planning Area 11, SP 11, Planning Area 1, from 0 cubic yards to 1,000 cubic yards. This is in excess of the grading required for the residence, driveway, and garage. The Municipal Code text amendment is a project subject to California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA requirements. Because the MCTA could potentially have significant environmental impacts under CEQA if no mitigation measures were incorporated, a mitigated negative declaration was prepared. The mitigated negative declaration was circulated for public review and comment between September 17, 2021 and October 7, 2021. On September 30th, 2021, the city received a comment email from an attorney from the Villa Verde Ridge Homeowners Association. The HOA attorney's email included a section-by-section critique of the mitigated negative declaration prepared by an environmental consultant and argues that the mitigated negative declaration does not comply with CEQA. Thus, the current mitigated negative deck may be subject to challenge. The HOA's retention of an attorney and environmental consultant to review the mitigated negative declaration indicates they may be preparing to file a CEQA lawsuit if the city adopts the municipal code text amendment using the current mitigated negative declaration. The cost of preparing a new or revised mitigated negative declaration could be in the range of $100,000 to $150,000, and that was premised on previous projects as depicted in the footnote involving a project in the downtown. To Section 2, the options. 1, continue with the current mitigated negative declaration. Move forward with the municipal code text amendment without revising the mitigated negative declaration and defend the mitigated negative declaration in court if challenged. This approach is risky because if the HOA sues the city and prevails in the lawsuit, then the city would be required to 1, pay the HOA's attorney fees incurred in the lawsuit, potentially in excess of $200,000 for a full CEQA lawsuit, and 2, redo the mitigated negative declaration if the city still wanted to adopt the municipal code text amendment, which, as previously stated, was estimated at approximately $100,000 to $150,000. Option 2. Some more conservative approaches. Option 2A, delay the municipal code text amendment and hire a CEQA consultant at the city's expense to prepare a new or revised mitigated negative declaration, which was estimated at $100,000 to $150,000, addressing the issues raised by the HOA's environmental consultant. Option 2B was to table the municipal code text amendment. Section 3, the recommendation, if the city council believes the HOA will sue the city, then we would recommend one of the options 2A or 2B, as these options minimize legal and financial risk to the city. That concludes the memo.
So Chris, just to surmise, that was the memo presented to the council. The council, as evidenced by what the action tonight, the staff proposals were accepted. Although the memo pointed out a potential cost of $100,000 to $150,000, the actual cost before us tonight is an appropriation of $75,140 to be able to conduct the due diligence necessary to mitigate the issues presented by the HOA by proceeding with this course of action. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
May I make a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So as Chris mentioned, the hiring of a consultant was approved on a 3-2 vote at the January 11th meeting. And so we've already made, as a body, on a 3-2 vote, the decision to move ahead and hire a consultant to do the environmental. As Ryan points out, in the memo that we received back in October, which we're releasing a revised version of now.
I would just point of order. I'm not sure we agreed that the vote disclosure was going to be subject, but that's done.
January 11th meeting was public meeting.
I think he was referring to on January 11th on the consent calendar. It was
I
3
see.
to 2 for the contract.
Right.
Very well.
You might remember January 11th, I pulled it so that we could have a separate vote, and it was a 3-2 vote.
There you go.
So this evening, what was originally a confidential memo, we discussed releasing a revised version, taking out some of the stuff that still should be confidential just to protect the city's position in litigation of this nature, or of any nature. You have to have some of the legal advice that has to remain confidential. But we did settle on what you have before us. And there's, under the more conservative approaches, there are 2 ways of doing that. One is hiring the consultant, as we've talked about. The second is table the MCTA. And I just wanted to ask the city attorney briefly, if we did table the MCTA, could a resident or an entity still request a municipal code text amendment in order to change the grading amounts?
Speaking in general, a resident or property owner in San Dimas at any time can apply for an amendment to any of our zoning ordinances, yes.
And who pays for it in that case?
In that case, the applicant would pay for the staff costs and the CEQA cost of preparing the zoning amendment, and we generally also require the applicant to indemnify the city in case the city is sued because they have amended the zoning ordinance.
Thank you for that comment about what happens in the case when a property owner or person wants to amend or wants to initiate a municipal code text amendment. And if any of you have not been following along, the City Council initiated this on our own on a 3-2 vote. And so the city is bearing this cost. And with that, I'm ready to vote on the item.
I would just add, for public record and those interested in this, that is accurate that the City Council, Councilman Weber and I, initiated this municipal code text amendment after identifying a flaw that the City Council of the past and general city policy had as an oversight that was subjected to a bunch of homeowners, and therefore we are remedying an issue in the code to make it proper for the people who live up there, not burdening them with the expense of the city's fault. I move approval of this action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. Motion carries 3-2.
And that's with Councilmember Ebner and Bertone voting no.
Okay. We'll move to other business authorization to and execution of a construction contract 2022-01 with Leonia Builders and to repair a pedestrian and equestrian bridge at the San Dimas Wash in a total project amount of $50,600. Recommendation: the staff recommends City Council award construction to Leonia Builders and a bid of $38, authorizing the appropriate total project cost of $50,600. To authorize the manager and enter into an appropriate construction contract with Leonardo in a form of approved by the city attorney. Sherry?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. As the mayor mentioned, the item before you is tonight for consideration is regarding the replacement of wooden decking and wooden side rails of a pedestrian equestrian bridge over the San Dimas Wash. The bridge is located just north of Foothill Boulevard and east of Walnut Avenue. It was installed originally in early 1990. And if you recall, during that time, Foothill Boulevard narrowed at that location over the wash to 2 lanes in each direction. There was no sidewalk or bike lane at that time. This bridge was provided as an alternate for pedestrians and equestrians to get around the wash without having to go into traffic lanes. When maintenance was being done on the bridge earlier or in late 2021, staff noted that the wood decking was weathered and showed signs of age. A structural engineer was brought in to assess the bridge, and the engineer's determination was that the steel substructure of the bridge was in a good condition. However, the wood decking, while not unsafe, was displaying signs of age. It had cracking and some weathering. And due to the cracking and weathering, it was determined that the wood was out of specifications from the original bridge specifications. Out of caution, staff closed the bridge to pedestrian and equestrian traffic. The bridge manufacturer was contacted for lumber specifications for the decking material. And because this is specialty work, staff requested contractor recommendations from the bridge manufacturer. This project will also replace the wooden side rails, which are not structural, but are also showing signs of weathering. Of the 4 contractors provided by the bridge manufacturer, the city received 2 proposals. The lowest was for $38,000 from Leonida Builders Incorporated. With this construction cost, the total project budget, including engineering and 20% contingency, would be anticipated to be $50,600. This project was not allocated for this fiscal year. However, as the bridge is closed, staff requests that council consider appropriating the money for this fiscal year. While this concludes my presentation pending questions, I'd like to summarize what's being requested. As the mayor mentioned, it's authorize and appropriate a total project budget of $50,600 in this fiscal year. Award of construction contract 2022-01 San Dimas Wash Bridge Repair to Leonida Builders for the amount bid of $38,000. And then authorize the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Leonida Builders in a form authorized by the city attorney.
Thank you, Sherry. Questions? John?
I think just growing up in that area and kind of living in that area, I think this is an important piece of the whole part of the puzzle up there, especially for equestrian use for folks that have alpacas and the like. So I would move approval as recommended by staff.
I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0. Move on to item number 2, approve a budget appropriation of $5,000 for a community and law enforcement program called Days of Dialogue. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in November 2020, the council requested information on a program, a community program called Days of Dialogue, which brings community and law enforcement together to discuss difficult and challenging issues in a constructive manner. Last month, on January 11th, the city staff presented this program to the city council, who then recommended that we reach out to Bonita Unified School District and McKinley Children's Center to ascertain their desire to partner with the city and defray some of the costs in this collaborative community-wide activity. We have since reached out to both the district and McKinley's, who both enthusiastically committed their support. And so what you see before you is a request that the city appropriate the full $5,000 out of the Citizens Option for Public Safety Grant so that we can actually enter into the contractual arrangement as the city, and then authorize the appropriation of the reimbursement of $1,500 from Bonita Unified and $1,500 from McKinley's Children's Center back into the COPS grant, and then authorize the manager or his designee to enter into the appropriate agreements to implement the Days of Dialogue. And after entering into that arrangement, we'll coordinate with the district and McKinley's and schedules of the council to be able to hold a community event in person here on city property. And with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor.
Questions of staff?
None.
None? Hearing none, I'll have a motion.
Second, and I just want to thank staff, McKinley Children's Center, and the Bonita Unified School District for taking up this important item. I think this is definitely a step in the right direction to address the issues that we heard from many members of the community in the last 18 to 24 months, and I look forward to this event and hope it is well attended.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I think it'll be a very interesting discussion. A lot of people are talking about it. Oral communications. Members of the audience, speakers are limited to 3 minutes or as may be determined by the chair. Anyone wishing to speak with the city council?
Two weeks ago, when I was before you, I requested in behalf of the residents at Charter Oak a meeting with the city at our park. Now, they have scheduled a Meet the Manager meeting on Thursday, where I know some of the city council is planning on attending. We've all met the managers. We're not happy with the managers. We want dialogue with the city. We want meetings where the residents can come, because obviously we're not going to get it here. You folks are missing the mark. We're not here about police patrolment and holes in the fence and broken streets. That's part of it, but it all comes down to mismanagement of our park. We need your attention, and we're not getting it. You're not listening to the needs of your seniors. And we would still like, it's been 2 weeks, we've heard nothing from the city. We got a memo today about the meeting on Thursday, but we still want an open dialogue meeting with the city council at our park at times that are available so all residents have an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
About 3.5 years ago, it was in August, a garage caught on fire on First Street. I believe it's 242. Anyway, I'd have to get that. Anyway, what happened was the garage caught on fire, and the city mandates that they rebuild the garage. It hasn't happened. And also the front of that property has a driveway to nowhere. If my understanding is right, that if you have a garage and a back entry, that driveway slab shouldn't be there. How she's gotten away with this, I don't know. I've called City Hall several times and told them, hey, this is not going up. She's put a fence around it. She's gotten around it. And when this happened 3.5 years ago, and the city mandated that, she told me, over my dead body are they going to make me put a garage? And I guess she did beat City Hall. So I don't know if this has been addressed or if this is now the new MO that, you know, if City Hall mandates, if the city mandates certain regulations, and, you know, us citizens, we can just do as we please. And I would like for you to address that problem. It's, again, the garage at 242 caught on fire, and she's not putting it up. Thank you.
Thank you. What was it, that street? Saying First Street?
That would be, I believe it's 242, and that would be, which side is that? It would be West Street, First West Street, yeah.
And is that, it's the south side of the street, and is what, the second?
It would be on
second
the
house from
south
end?
side of the street, yeah.
Second house or third house from the, where it meets Cataract?
From Cataract, well, I'm not sure that we will, one, to be honest.
It'll be 242 West First.
Yeah.
Yeah, 242, you're aware of the...
Close to the end, I think I know the house you're talking about.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the block.
Is it in the middle? So
Yeah, there's...
Okay. We can pull
there's
up
the
the
empty
records.
lot. Okay, there's the empty lot on Monte Vista, and then there's one house, two houses, 3 houses. She would be the 5th house of going from Monte Vista towards Cataract. She would be the 5th house on the south side.
All right, thank you.
We've taken a note, and we'll find the address. And
Okay. Zittich is the last name.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak to the council? Ma'am?
Good evening, staff, council, mayor. My name is Catherine Begin, and I live in Area 1 up on Cayo Cristina and Area 1 of SP 11 that you just talked about. I came in late. I apologize. I had a family emergency, and I saw your memo that you were talking about. There was a vote 3-2 I just saw, but I don't know, was it on condition 2, 2A, 2B? I don't know if you can explain that to me, or if I talk to somebody after. Also, I had emailed you guys kind of late today, all of you, on the October 7th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting minutes. I don't know if you saw those minutes. I know Councilman Ebner and Bertone, you were in the audience of that meeting for the Planning Commission, where 30 residents and supporters came in. We had our shirts on, we had our signs. We've had many city council meetings. You've all been up there to see the area. Then we had 15 speakers in public, in person, residents that have each tried to build their homes on their land and their lots, and they've explained their problems that they've had in the many years with the council, the municipal text code, that we've had problems. There were 2 different codes. There needs to be one to make it work. We have a neighborhood that looks like Detroit, abandoned homes, vacant properties. Many projects are in halt right now. I have a new neighbor coming on the right that has plans in with the city. And right now, if they want a pool, they can't have a pool. They should have a pool if they own 2 acres up there. And if it's stable, structurally stable, sound, that they're not moving any fossils, which the HOA has stated that we have fossils, endangered species, endangered plants, but yet their homes that they live in, they have pools, they have patios. That doesn't make any sense. I know you've been up there. So I just wanted to let you know about the meeting minutes that Kimberly Nustis just put up on the website. They weren't here prior, so I don't know if Deborah Black had time to put that in your agenda packet. There were 30 people here in support, and 15 spoke in person, so they were not emailed comments. So your agenda packet now has the emailed comments, which might have a few opposition, but there are 15 in support, and there were 30 people in support for this. So I just wanted to make sure you see that. So you'll have them in email. They're a little late, and I apologize. Also, the HOA, they don't control grading. That is you, the city, with the homeowner and the planning department. They had no legal rights in the CC&Rs to state that they control grading. If you ask the architectural committee, they will let you know they did not approve a grading plan. Architectural committee and the HOA does not control grading. That's the city. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else wishing to speak to the council? Seeing none, we'll move on. City manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start by introducing the study session the council will hold. The city will be holding a study session for the Pioneer Square project on Monday, February 28th at the Senior Center at 6 p.m. The PSQ project and the documents related to that project, both the historical documents from what was originally proposed several years ago to an intermediate project that was presented to council in September of 2021, and the revised project that was just provided to us this week are available on our city website. It's at sandimasca.gov/PSQ that you can take a look at those documents. The city conducted advertising. We sent public notices to all properties within 500 feet of the Bonita Cataract parcel, and all the way through from Bonita all the way Arrow Highway to Monte Vista. We also asked the Chamber of Commerce to send out notifications to their membership, which they actually did about an hour ago, to encourage folks to come to that meeting to be able to see what the project is, what it looks like, ask questions, and fully understand the scope and impacts of what is being proposed so that the council can seek input on for their consideration. Second item talks about the honorable way of disposing damaged flags. If you come through City Hall's lobby or the Senior Center, you will notice boxes, a small box that's there that's marked for flags. We will be collecting flags that are damaged, tattered, or need to be retired, and are working with an organization to properly and in a dignified manner dispose of said flags with the honor that a flag should have when they're disposed. With regards to the Gold Line, there's a number of updates. Last Friday, the Gold Line released a draft supplemental environmental impact report for the relocation of the Gold Line station parking to the city's park and ride. This is related to the letter of intent the city signed with the Gold Line, and so the Gold Line has released that document for a review and comment, which are due by April 4th. That document can be found on the Foothill Gold Line website, which is foothillgoldline.org/environmental-reviews. On Bonita and Cataract Avenue crossing, the Gold Line contractor will continue working on the bridge abutments and false work. Staff has received complaints regarding speeding on Bonita Avenue near Cataract. So we are working with the Sheriff's Office on enforcement and will be placing a radar trailer to discourage speeding. At Monte Vista Avenue, the Gold Line will begin working on the pedestrian underpass on Monte Vista Avenue. This will require restriping of the traffic lanes on Monte Vista Avenue, but traffic will be able to continue until the street is closed permanently in the summer of 2022. On San Dimas Avenue, it remains closed through June of 2022. Utility work is ongoing. There will be a one-day closure of the driveway at the northwest side of the crossing to enable the contractor to place steel plates. This is the southeast exit entrance of the city's parking on the backside of downtown. The steel plates will allow the contractor to continue work without further interrupting the driveway. Notices will be given to businesses, and the work will be scheduled for a day when several businesses are closed or have lighter trade occurring. In the downtown, we've had a number of street lights, our red street lights, which have been out. These are street lights along Bonita and on San Dimas Avenue and Iglesia. We've had an electrical problem with the underground feed. Edison has now repaired their portion of the problem. However, there are several breaks remaining on the city side, which would require reconstruction of the underground conduits. As you can imagine, that's some significant work. With the age of the system and extremely high voltage, these lights were slated for replacement in the near future. Staff will prioritize the design for a replacement system, but in the short term, we will install temporary LED light fixtures and run power to the lights overhead from light to light where it's possible so that we can actually get those lights turned on in the quickest fashion. Some of the underground work will still be necessary, and staff will provide an update for when the temporary LED fixtures will be functional. I will now turn over to our first update of items for the Charter Oak Mobile Home Park.
Chris, can I ask,
yes.
Is that going to be your last update about the Charter Oak?
Correct.
Okay. Before you get, did you mention the downtown specific plan community workshop tomorrow? I can't remember. With all your announcements, I don't know if you got to that one.
Not.
I mean, I was going to say it in my comments. I can say it later on if you want me to.
You can. I just didn't get I didn't write down the details. Figuring
no worries. I'll do it at the end. It's coming up real soon, so I'll announce it.
So there are a number of items at the Charter Oaks which we've had Haven document. Some are, a lot of them are resident provided through the letters that residents have provided, and some are city related, and some are from Haven Management. With regards, I'll provide you just the most recent updates for some of these. With regards to Spectrum Internet, Inland Engineering performed a site walk on behalf of Spectrum with regards to the existing infrastructure to determine what kind of internet service we can provide on site. That's an ongoing in progress item. The city will be hosting or held a meet and greet on Valentine's Day where parks staff were there to interact with residents, to talk about some of the programming that we're considering doing out at the park that are senior related, that currently are being provided at the senior center. We will be going this Thursday. It won't just be management and city council members. There will be city staff, including myself and the community development director, the community development director responsible for the staff overseeing the Charter Oaks Park and Haven management. So we will be there to, yes, both meet and greet, but also be interact with staff, with residents, and we have no issue going back more often to be able to interact in a more in-depth manner with residents, to hear what their concerns are, their recommendations for improvement, and to work with Haven management to implement reasonable changes at the park. In terms of the physical need assessment, the company by the name of Meterman is available to start that assessment on March 7th, and they anticipate about 2 to 4 weeks to be able to complete and provide a formal report on the assessment of both the above ground and the underground infrastructure at the park. That should help us start to put together a 5-year capital improvement program so that we can identify what we want to do first and how we do it and how we budget for it going forward. There was a complaint of underage persons living at the park. The on-site manager is aware of one underage person confirmed to be living in the park, but she is working to determine which home they reside in so that they can speak to the homeowner. There is information regarding unregistered persons living in the park, and so on-site staff will be reviewing that complaint, and we will review what further information they're able to provide to the city. An issue related to residents' street parking overnight. The on-site managers received reports of cars parking in front of the spaces at, I won't mention the 2 numbers, but they're listed here. One of the on-site managers spoke to both the residents who agreed to stop parking there, so we'll keep on monitoring the situation to determine whether they continue to park in front of those specific units. There was a report of the streets being in poor condition. I've walked the streets, and there is alligatoring in a number of other areas that we could do improvements on the streets, but I cautioned about the extent to which of the improvements we would want to do if we're going to be digging into the streets to do undergrounding. However, we have asked Haven Management to provide proposals to identify areas of significant degradation on the streets and to provide a proposal of improvements to be able to improve those areas of the park. We have since received a proposal, and it'll be an item that we consider when we're looking at the overall CIP project. There is a report of a guest sleeping in a car overnight in front of a specified unit. We've had that one of the employees on site has spoken to that resident and who agreed that they would tell their guests to stop living there, so we'll continue to monitor that situation. There was a report of laundry machines not working. In my walkthrough, I did notice that there were machines that actually were not working, and that the current contractor provided a contract to the city for the replacement and maintenance of those laundry machines. There was a report regarding the removal and the remodel of the dog park. Haven Management is open to redoing this area should the city approve, but this is something we should further discuss in the context of the CIP program and all the other capital projects that we want to engage with at the park. There was a report regarding the lack of social activities at the park. We're planning to hold this meet and greet with city staff and Haven Management with park residents, and we hope to hear more about the type of programming and other concerns that residents have at the park, and then what further meetings we need to engage with and other staff from different departments to be able to start putting us on the path of providing those social activities at the park. The park no longer provides the Chatterbox publication. We've asked Haven Management to work with a publisher to reinstate the monthly Chatterbox, in addition to some of the monthly publications we currently provide to our seniors, and ensuring that that's also distributed and provided to our residents at the park. There was a request for the creation of a resident committee. The latest update is Haven Management has spoken with a firm that specializes and works with the nomination and selection and ballot process of individuals to be set for a resident committee. We've had conversations with Haven Management with regards to how to best select a resident committee, and in their expertise, having parks residents through a nomination and ballot process, designate who they want speaking on their behalf, seemed to make a lot of sense, so that there was a fair and equitable manner in which residents were selected to serve on that committee. The scope of that committee is not something we've determined yet. It's still something subject to ongoing discussions between the city, Haven management, and with residents. Our public works staff had gone out and repaired the back fence. They had to go back several times because there were several areas that were lacking. There is a need for increasing the height of the wall, the fencing in certain locations, but I think longer term the solution is an actual cinder block wall that's high enough, that's thick enough so that it avoids with folks being able to get through that fence or be able to go up and over to enhance the safety at the park. That's currently the update that I have with regards to the park, and we hope to continue to provide regular updates to the council until we can get a resolution to most of these. And my goal is to try to ensure that we develop internal processes so that concerns and complaints have a progressive mechanism to be reported so that they're dealt with at the lowest level possible, so that if they arise to the level of city staff, especially the city manager's office or to the council, that there had to have been a lot of failures that needed to occur before it reached our level, or the acuteness is so much that when we receive it initially, we can quickly respond with staff to address the problem. So with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor.
Any questions of city manager? I just have one. It seems to be a lot of discussion about the the community, the resident committee that's going to get together, and we're talking about how to figure out how to vote for them and figure out how. What do you think our time frame is on that? Because there seems to be a considerable amount of concern that we're not hearing them, and one way to hear them is to put this committee up in a timely manner versus, prolonging it. So, and I realize that everybody there, you got 200 residents or, residents there, and they all have an opinion, but to figure out how we get that information back to us in a more timely manner, I'd like to know what's their thoughts on this.
So on the 15th of February is when we got word from the firm that would be providing a proposal to manage that process. So I don't suspect that's going to take a long time to be able to put a process together to do so. So I can't give you an exact estimate as to it's going to be a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, but the goal is to be shorter rather than longer.
Anybody have any other further questions? All right, Chris, you have anything additional?
No, I do not.
John, you had some comments or something at some point you said?
I can do it under my council member comments.
Okay.
In about 3 minutes.
All right. City attorney?
No updates tonight, Mayor.
Members of the city council, council members' reports on meetings attended at the expense of the local agency. Hearing none, will city council request for future items, comments, and updates? Dennis?
Well, we had a lot of information about the Gold Line, and I think something that's good news is that the San Dimas Gold Line station is going to be started in April, which is just a couple of months away, and it's about time, and we can really see a lot of happenings, especially with the bridge and everything. So in April of this year, they will start the Gold Line station in San Dimas.
Eric?
I just have two things. One is that I'm sure many have already seen or heard that the Huntington Beach Police Department lost a police officer in a helicopter crash. Their helicopter, which they call HB1, crashed off the coast of Huntington Beach there in the water, and they lost Officer Nicholas Vela. And it's a very rare type of accident to happen to begin with, but Huntington Beach Police Department is a very small department as well. And this is the first officer that they've lost in the line of duty since 1974. So it's not something that anybody at the department is used to. And, thankfully, it's not something that any department should be really that used to. But this also happens to be the reason that this is near and dear to me. And the reason I'm bringing it up is it's the department that provides helicopter services to the city that I personally work in. And I know that HB1 and Officer Vela has been my eyes in the sky and kept me safe when I was on calls in the field. So I'm very thankful for the services that they provide, and I'm very sorry for their loss. And I just hope that we can all keep his coworkers, his wife, and his daughter in your thoughts and prayers. And on a more upbeat note, on the way home today, I heard that LA County COVID hospitalizations were down by, I think a number that stuck out in my head was around 30%. So with that, they also said that the mask mandates may be relaxed for indoor spaces in LA County by hopefully Friday. I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm also hoping that this change of mask mandates lasts a little bit longer than some of the others in the past. So, but that was some positive news, and we're moving in the right direction, and I'll leave it at that. John.
Thanks for that good news, Eric. That's welcome for sure. Well, happy 2/22/22, first of all, to everybody. And got a couple things here. As Sean Casares mentioned at the start of the meeting in the oral communications, that initiative, the Our Neighborhood Voices initiative, which is designed to counteract some of the problems that SB 9 and some other housing laws have foisted on the cities and bring control of some of those things back to the cities. That initiative, the leaders have decided not to pursue it for this election cycle. And as Sean said, they'll be aiming more for the 2024 election. They figure they'll be positioned a little bit better at that point. Unfortunately, that's 2 years away, and so it reminds us, and right now our staff is working on some municipal code text amendments to address that and make sure that we've got as robust standards as we can possibly do to at least make those housing mandates with the dividing lots and putting 4 houses where 1 house now stands, make them as good as they possibly can be for San Dimas. As an announcement, the downtown specific plan is starting to be worked on, and there is a public workshop tomorrow. So that's tomorrow, Wednesday, February 23rd. This is not an in-person meeting, so it's available via Zoom. You can also call in, as a matter of fact, to listen. You can find it's at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and 6 to 7:30 they say, so I guess it's got a time frame. If you want to know the Zoom, I'll put it on my Facebook page, but you can go to, it's out there now on our city's website, sandimasca.gov/DTSP, Downtown Specific Plan, or you can see those little topics that scroll along on the home page, and one of those topics, and if you click on it, it'll stop scrolling and get you to the Downtown Specific Plan page, which has the Zoom address and how to participate in that meeting. That is a public meeting, and it's supposed to be a workshop, so comments on the Downtown Specific Plan are welcome and encouraged, because that is really, really important. And I think, yep. Chris, you had mentioned the bus shelter, putting the bus shelter thing on the agenda, but I think staff is already planning to bring that back in March for a selection. Is that what we were talking about, or?
No, I think you were asking about getting a discussion history on the bus shelter, and our response was that item would be coming back forth in March. In terms of the design of the bus shelter. So if I didn't know if you still desired that'd be something to ask at the council.
Yes, I do want it, but I think Sherry's planning on bringing it back anyway, right?
March.
Sherry?
Yes.
Yep, okay, she's nodding. And that's all I have for now, thanks.
And John, if I may ask, thank you for bringing up the update about the Zoom meeting. The one, I was going to bring it up, but I figured since you had it, it made sense. The other item to that was we still have the Mind Mixer website and the survey that folks can provide comments regarding the Downtown Specific Plan, and that's on the same webpage. So we asked that if people have a chance to not only do the meeting, but also to provide input into the Mind Mixer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at that page right now, and there is like this thing called Mind Mixer. That's just I don't know who sponsors that, but that we've glommed onto that so we can get some comments and suggestions about downtown. But thanks a lot.
Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. I join in Eric in mourning Officer Vela. It's a tragic way that he and his partner went down the other day. But I think their courageous moves, I think, saved the lives of countless citizens by electing to be able to land that helicopter where they did. And I applaud them for that quick thinking in a terrible situation. So my thoughts and prayers are with the Huntington Beach Police Department, Officer Vela, his family, his agency, and the officer that's recovering. A couple of things. One, I want to thank the Sheriff's Department and bring to light the issue. The Sheriff's Department responded to an individual that popped up a tent over off of the Antonovich Trail over the weekend. And this brought a lot of attention. I know folks in the community were pretty fired up about it. I know I got a lot of messages about it. But it really does, one, I applaud the Sheriff's Department, our own station, I understand, responded to be able to address the issues there, despite the fact that I do believe it was Parks Bureau's location, which is a separate bureau at the Sheriff's Department that patrols the county area, but our station took the initiative and I believe reached out, handled the situation accordingly, and thank you for that. I do think that we need to pay attention to what's going on with the homelessness. I think the city, we have our homeless plan. I know, and I was recently reviewing it, I know we've been working at chopping away at the various implementation pieces, but I do think it's important that we continue to work towards that and partner with Union Station and the others that we have to be able to impact this problem. With that being said, the segue to that is, tonight I want to thank all of the city staff that volunteered to be able to conduct the homeless count. The last homeless count was in 2020, and I believe the number was approximately 16 people in the community officially experiencing homelessness per that count. The LA County Homeless Services Authority was canceling the count because of COVID and some other things, but staff stepped up to the plate and partnered with the Sheriff's Department to go out there and do that work today. So I appreciate staff doing that, the staff that volunteered to do it. It's a task that's important for us as we continue to plan and we budget accordingly to be able to address the challenges of tomorrow and what's here right now. So thank you to staff on that. I would like to call on the city to be able to investigate the claim of theft from someone at the mobile home estates. I understand that is outside of council's scope, but that is within the city manager's scope as it specifically deals with an employee, and I do hope it is addressed and thoroughly investigated. I think it's important that staff is held accountable if there is an actual finding in that, and I trust that you'll do your due diligence in that to be able to get to the bottom of that. I also think that I wonder if the city attorney, if you could quickly provide, or the city manager could provide some understanding to the community as it relates to the Brown Act and the limitations of the council. I understand, hearing from the community tonight, there are some that are frustrated in understanding how we agendize items and how those items are not being placed on the agenda. I would hope we could provide, if you could briefly, some understanding to the community as it relates to the limitations of the body to be able to meet in certain places and how we could facilitate that. I wonder if a town hall might not be a venue, perhaps, that we could pursue to facilitate dialogue and allow the interested community members to be able to express themselves. But I don't know if Chris or Jeff, you guys just in summary could provide some context to that so they understand council's position. Or limitations, I guess. Not that we don't want to answer them, but what we're bound by.
So the basic limitation is that if the item is not on the agenda, the council cannot discuss it. So members of the public can come to speak at public comment on any item that they wish, on any topic that they wish. But if that topic's not on the agenda that night's meeting, the council cannot discuss it. What the council can do is request that an item come back at the next meeting or at a certain meeting on a date in the future, so that the council can discuss it at a future date. And you suggested town hall. A town hall is perfectly acceptable if it's within the city limits, and if we agendize it as a council meeting, it can be anywhere in the city limits. That is possible if the council wanted to request that, but I believe that staff is working on a meeting at the park this Thursday. But yes, a town hall is also something that's possible. The other thing is, how can well, I guess I already explained, how can a member of the public get an item on the agenda? And that is, come to a council meeting, ask for an item to be placed on an agenda, and then the council can request that. We have a policy where if a council has a request for a future agenda item, it needs to be seconded by another council member, and then that item can be added to a future agenda. And sometimes there's further explanation by staff about whether a future agenda item is needed or that type of a thing.
And if I may add to that, the Charter Oaks got on the agenda when it was brought up as comments, and council asked for that to be agendized. So 2 members of the council asked, which is exactly the way the process is supposed to work. An individual did reach out to the mayor requesting an agenda item, and the mayor and I discussed it. I asked the mayor if I could respond. So the mayor did not, as the resident stated, shirk his responsibility and pass it on to some other staff person. I asked to respond so that I could clarify how these items get on the agenda, similar to how the original item got on the agenda. The request that was being asked was, can you please agendize, I want to agendize something on the agenda, but provided no details about how to agendize. And under the Brown Act, any agendized item requires a brief description of the specific matter that's to be discussed, so that there are parameters around what you can talk about and what you can't talk about. And so, as the city attorney related, and as we did with the first Charter Oaks item, when a resident is asking for the council to consider something for agendize, they can bring it up like they did at oral communication, and 2 members of the council can give direction to staff to come back with a specific agenda item on the topic that's being requested. And the purpose doing it that way is, imagine now 34,000 residents, if they know all I got to do is ask for an agenda item, and now there's 250 agenda items on your next council meeting, you will not be able to engage in efficient operations as a council if there was no parameters to how to do that.
I wonder if, rather than maybe a town hall, understanding the challenges of the dynamics of that, I wonder if we could not look at a community listening session. I know a number of bodies do community listening sessions where essentially we're not necessarily able to precisely respond to anything at that particular moment, but it provides an opportunity for open engagement for us to be able to take in the information. You know, I think that hearing the members of the community, they know about the upcoming meetings, so that was clear to me. I'm just wondering, based off the dialogue tonight, if there is an appetite with the council to hold either a community listening session or a town hall with the interested members of the community from that location to be able to hear what they have to say, and I guess understanding if the community understands our limitations, then I think it would be worth engaging if they understand.
I'd be interested in moving forward in some type of an approved manner. I think that would be something the staff would get together with city attorney and come up with an answer. But I think the start is Thursday with having two meetings. It sounds like we have to get the management company involved if we're ever going to solve any of these problems, and then determine what's going on. So that's a start. No, let me rephrase that. A start was 3 meetings ago, 6 weeks ago, when the audience filled up with people who had concerns. It's okay. City Council hadn't heard many of these concerns because they had not been concerns until a change in the management company. And the one thing I would like to do is ask staff, meaning Chris, to do some follow-up on the one lady's problems with being able to locate the management company, okay? Evidently, you were able to find it, but they're having difficulty with it, so I'd like to know where they're really at, so that I can drive down there and look and see where the building is that's vacant.
We can do so. I actually visited those offices with Henry prior to executing the agreement with them, and they did have an office in that location. I just can't remember the suite number off the top of my head right now. But I think what's very important here is we will engage with the residents Tuesday, and I think what they're asking for with the request from one of those residents was more than just a meet and greet. You know, a meet and greet implies that you're just saying, hello, this is who I am, and thank you very much, but we're not really talking about any really substantive matters regarding the park. We want to have those substantive discussions regarding the park. But I also am cognizant that you can't operate an operation from the top of the organization. You can set policy and direction and strategy and appropriate funding for it, but this doesn't work if we're only making those decisions from the dais of the council. So we have to find a way. This is why you have a property manager and then staff between the property manager and then the council setting policy, direction, and code. We need to make sure that we set the system to work well, because if we don't, then these problems will just continue happening. Complaints will come right to the council, bypassing the whole system, and we're just going to go in a never-ending cycle of, this issue happened, how are you going to deal with it, council? And then, of course, we're going to respond to it, but wouldn't it be nice to respond at the lowest level?
With all due respect, I represent them. That's my job. So the bottom line is, I'm going to listen to the community, and I understand what you're saying in the context of that, but I represent all of the people that are sitting out there, and all of us do. So I don't disagree with what you're saying from the seat that you're in, but from the seat that I'm in, I have to listen to their concerns, and if there is a problem, then we need to be able to vet it. And at the end of the day, I 100% stand by, as you know, the due diligence process, but hearing the concerns of these individuals as it relates to the management company, I mean, I would hope, and I don't want to get too much more in the weeds on this because it's not on the agenda, as John would point out often. But the bottom line is, I hope we can find the correct and accurate information related to Haven Management, their website, all of their everything that they need to know about holding these folks accountable, and everything that we need to know to hold these people accountable. So I think I had support to be able to explore a town hall or community listening session. Is that what you heard?
I have two council members, the mayor and Councilmember Vienna, who have asked to coordinate something like that. And if you're not opposed, we could do something at the Charter Oaks location with the whole council as like a study session, but more of a open listening and discussion.
Yeah, if you were to do that, I would ask, unless there's an issue the city attorney sees, that it's noticed. Is it possible to notice it to the address in the event that we have to walk the property or look at anything specific?
Oh, you mean so that you could move around in the park if you need to?
Yes, I don't like being tied down.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment on this. Mr. City Attorney, is the proper way to move that we reopen the Charter Oak item under City Manager comments so that I can make a comment on it?
Sure, yes.
Can we reopen that item so we can so we can all discuss it? Do we need a vote on that?
No, we'll just move back to it on the agenda.
We'll move back to that topic. I wanted just two realms here. One is the having an item on the agenda at the City Council meeting. So we actually have that item on the City Council agenda. It's an ongoing item, and the council wanted to have it on there so we can just get updates as time goes on, as things progress, and get updates. What was mentioned by Evelyn/Kathy out there was that she wanted more of a dialogue, a little discussing with the City Council. And the problem that we have under the current City Council meeting policy is that we don't discuss items. The public does not comment, unless it's the public hearing, which this is not. The public comments only at the start of the meeting or at the very end, but not during the time when the meeting is, the agenda item is actually a topic. Now, the mayor can change that at, if he would like to, but typically, we would be doing exactly what we did today if it was on the agenda. You speak at the beginning, we talk about it later on, and that's it. So moving to the second part of having the dialogue that we're talking about, I like the idea of having the meeting where residents speak, public, a town hall, something at the mobile home estates where maybe we have the meet and greet, but then we have like a more formal presentation or a listening session at that point. Or maybe we have the meet and greet on Thursday, and then we have more of the city council meeting agendized for another time. I think there's lots of ways of doing it. But I think the idea is what we want to get to, however we get to it, is that city council's there and city manager and staff, and the residents say things, and then we are able to respond, like at that same time, to the residents and get explanations. And we have a lot of issues on the table, so I think Chris has a pretty good handle on what a lot of the issues are. And of course, it would be helpful if there are any additional issues, if the residents, before that meeting, kind of tell us about it so staff can kind of look into it and get it. But I really like that idea you're bringing up, Ryan. But I like the idea of going a step further of making it so that we're not just listening, but we could actually comment or say whatever we want to say and be a little bit more of a back and forth in a formal setting. So the meet and greet is going to be great. I'm going to go there, and it's going to be great to meet and greet. But, and we'll hear people, but it's not as much of a, sit down, let's talk about it back and forth.
It sounds kind of more like a study session
Since we're
format.
all getting out of order here, which I don't know if is appropriate or not, but the way the mayor runs the meeting, that he allows people to speak in the very beginning and the very end, any concerns that they have, is very positive for the community. So I want to compliment him on that. And it's not like we don't want to hear people. We certainly sit here and we listen. And when people email us, I think we all respond to them. So it's not necessarily all negative. I think that there's a lot of positive things happening.
I agree with Councilmember Bertone. I think to address the point about meetings, and Councilmember Weber's point, we have to maintain order in these meetings. The Institute for Local Government, if you look at exceptional practices of councils, we should be conducting the business at respectable hours. And what we've seen in the past, in our experience when we tried what Councilman Ebner is discussing, council meetings were going to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And unfortunately, that's not fair to you folks. That's not fair to us. I think the best setting is proposed is for us to make the time above and beyond this meeting so that we can sit with you and commit ourselves to be able to hear your concerns. And I think the mayor's done a great job chairing the meeting, and I think these meetings run appropriately and are respectable to the citizens, and we conduct the business in a reasonable hour for everybody.
Great. John, anything else?
I just want to respond to the reasonable hour thing. You might recall that we had a lot of discussion on pretty heavy topics. That was why they were going a long time. And as we looked at the amount of talking that everybody was doing, the people who made those meetings go the longest, Ryan, were you and me, because we did a lot of talking.
And we owe it to everyone to do better. So we'll take the items we need to spend more time on outside of here.
So I have always liked the idea of discussing the items with the public and the public making comments when the items are agendized. And as we said, at some point, we're going to review that. And I intend to bring it up for review to go back to that policy at a soon, but probably not within the next 3 months time.
To your point, you just ate more of my minutes just to keep track. Can I go back to my council member comments now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So 2 more things. One is the housing element. I highly encourage members of the public to be able to follow what's going on with the downtown specific plan, specifically as it relates to housing. The city has to look at what's going on with its arena numbers, regional housing needs assessment. We have to be able to look at what we're going to do with affordable housing, where we're going to put it, and what makes sense. Does it make sense that we build this housing all over the city where it's not accessible to mass transportation, not accessible to the Gold Line, not accessible to the park and ride? Or do we focus what we're doing with density in certain areas of the community that make sense, that help our downtown thrive, to bring those restaurants and those establishments that people want so much to be able to reinvigorate our downtown and bustle our local economy. So at the end of the day, I hope and I encourage every member of this city to engage in the downtown specific plan, take the surveys, enter your feedback, because at the end of the day, we all know we don't want to spend our tax dollars in Laverne or Glendora or anywhere else. We want to be able to eat here, shop here, and dine here, and enjoy our quality of life here. Last thing, I don't know, and I don't know if we need to do this immediately, but I certainly hope in the next 90 days or so, if there's another member of council that's interested in this, I would like to bring back the discussions related to commissions, boards, and committees. I think that as the city moves towards districts, as we are, we never really got into the discussion of the composition of our commissions, boards, or committees. And I think as we move forward towards commissions, boards, and committees in the context of districts, I think it's important for us to have fair and equitable representation on those, representative of all the people in the different districts. So I don't know if there's a member of the council that would be interested in having that discussion. I would preface that by saying my hope would be that staff would be able to survey communities that already have districts and how they look at appointing members of boards, committees, and commissions, and perhaps have some discussion points or some starting points for discussion on how the council could work towards policy that is more effective, equitable, and inclusive of including people from throughout the various council districts that have been established, and how to work with at-large mayor appointments.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. I think when we had that original discussion, we knew that this was going to be coming up and going to be an issue, and I believe it's something that we at least alluded to would probably be a conversation that we would need to have in the future. So since we've transitioned to districts, I think it's probably a good time to do that.
Thank you, Councilman Weber. And the last thing, are we good, Chris? Nope. Okay, last thing. San Dimas Little League opening day is on Saturday. So if you're around and you have some time, come down to Marchant Park, 8 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully, we'll see the mayor throw the first pitch, I'm hoping. And I'm going to place bets on whether it gets over home plate or not. But can't do that here. So I'll see you out there, hopefully. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you. I had a lot of things to say, but I think everybody wants to get home by midnight. First off, Ryan hit on a nerve. As everyone knows, we're going to districts. I mean, there's going to be 4 districts and an at-large mayor. The deal is real simple. And John has said it, Ryan has said it, Eric has said it. I know Dennis believes it. This city council represents the entire city. Okay? It's our responsibility, even though we have this little hub here and little hub here, we have that responsibility, but this council totally believes that we all represent the entire city of San Dimas. And hopefully we don't get into this little niche like much larger cities that says, well, I don't worry about them, they're on the other side of the bridge. We need to worry about ourselves, the whole community, and I know that John's district's going to include the mobile home park, but everybody has to be involved in solving this problem, and I'm sure that that's going to be the mindset. I want to thank the mobile home park residents who've been coming here. I know it doesn't seem like it's striking home, but it is striking home. Little things have happened. You know, we got this fence fixed. We're looking at what we do to make it taller. We're looking at a block wall situation. The staff is very much aware of that you guys have some concerns, and I agree with Ryan and the other council that we need to figure out a way that we can listen, sit down, and dialogue back and forth. I'm just not sure what that process will be, so I'm going to leave it to the city attorney and to the city manager. And I do want to address one thing that the lady here in the front, Evelyn, that said that she did send me an email. I was on a trip out of town actually driving, when I got the email, I immediately called Chris, asked Chris, could he, what was going on with it. I told him all about it. He said, hey, I will make contact with her. I thanked him, and we moved on. And I saw that I didn't see another message back, but I apologize if it wasn't, you didn't get something directly from me, but I thought it was handled, and I saw a message go off to you. I think anybody up here, this dais and this staff will tell you, I respond to every call, unless there's another situation that unfortunately I was out of town. So I apologize for that. But anyone who wants to ask me for my cell phone number, feel free. I give it out like anything, free. So I worked several years, like 37 years, in an occupation where they called me 24 hours a day. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. But I would hope that people would be, my wife didn't quite fall over and go back to sleep. So, I want to thank those people that came out for the homeless count, the sheriffs, our staff. We had a lot of, some of our commission volunteers. Patrick Jones back there, he just came back in from it. Sean, okay, and we appreciated that. So thank you guys very much. It's our commissions that make us good, and our community makes us good. So tomorrow night, I'm going to hear from a lot of people at the Downtown Pacific Plan meeting. If I can figure out how to get on Zoom. They know I'm not really electronically. That I'll have to get a hold of my daughter to have me help me. Little League, Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I hope to see a lot of people there, and it's really fun. And I haven't bowled lately, so we'll see how it goes. All right, I'll accept a adjournment. Okay, see you guys in 2 weeks or tomorrow.